I'd like to call to order the Committee of the Whole for December 10th, 2024 at 5:35 p.m. Attendance roll call.
Alderpersons Wolf is absent. Hamel.
Here.
Decker.
Here.
Schwer is absent. Schrader.
Here.
Kubaki.
Here.
Madden. Here. We have a quorum present.
Thank you. Statement of public notice.
This meeting was noticed in accordance with the open meeting law on Friday, December 6, 2024.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Approval of the minutes from the Committee of the Whole on September 17th and 24th.
Move to approve. Second.
Discussion. Kabaki seconded. Schrader moved.
No, Madden moved.
Madden moved. I'm sorry.
Madden moved.
Madden moved.
And moved.
Madden moved. Kabaki seconded.
Okay,
That's
thank
right.
you.
I'm just looking for which minutes it was. Those aren't the ones. I can't open anything on this computer again. I don't know what is happening.
Oh, that's.
I'm not imagining it.
That's saying you are.
You can scroll through mine.
Well, you know what? Because I do need to, I'm sure talking after
You know what? It's okay. Let's just proceed. It's fine.
Okay.
We're good.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. New business. Proposed fees increase.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me start again. Proposed fee increases for building planning, ROW clerk, etc.
Move to approve.
Second.
Scott, you want to come up here with your stuff first?
Really?
It's just like freeze. It won't do anything.
Wow. Grabbed the wrong computer. Thank you.
So when I sent this out, I think I attached our document here. There is a bunch of red lines on it. This is, we thought, the easiest way to show you what's existing and what we propose to change, okay? So just to let you know, the last time we checked, and if you look at the last page of that document, was a resolution in November 12th of 2013. It's the last time we looked at these fees and we changed any of these fees. What we are presenting is, after looking, myself, planning, our building inspectors, Wendy, who runs a lot of our building permits, is we need to update our permit fees. Now, in some cases, if you see a couple of these on the left or the right-hand side up there, those haven't changed. We just needed to get them on this form. If we don't get them on this form, by state law, we can't charge them. Okay, so just to let you know, there's some questions there. Others, we had to just increase just to cover our costs. For example, tiles for a house. Right now, when we get a set of tiles in, it's $27.50. That covers the set of tiles and shipping. We charge $20. We're losing money. We need to just cover our costs for that. Other things will just start costing more as inflation or with new state laws on how we look at different things, for example, decks. So what we also did is, when he quickly did what you have in front of you, is what someone would get charged if they were doing a deck in our current fees and what that new fee is. Just to kind of give you an example of what's going on. And these are real current stuff. Like the last two is a new home, which is one that's not even been processed yet. That's one that's coming. And the other one is the remodel that Culver's is doing right now that you can see. So we're just kind of updating our fees to get in line with our cost, if that makes sense. Some just to cover our costs, some due to inflation, and some just They just need to be updated.
How do these fees compare to the surrounding communities?
I'm going to bring Jared is our building inspector. He's, again, we contract out, so he did a lot of research on other places.
Okay.
Hello. So I did a quick evaluation of Vernon, Big Bend, New Berlin, Franklin, Germantown, and Elkhorn. So a lot of surrounding communities. Germantown's not close, but it's about the same size. So a lot of the communities charge by valuation, and it kind of gives a clause for increase in, so you don't have to evaluate maybe as often. But the square footage fee that we put in place is comparable to New Berlin. Everybody else is around 38 cents a square foot, but this kind of gives us some wiggle room for increases in the future. Maybe, like Scott said, we haven't evaluated these in quite some time. And if that happens again, it kind of gives us a little buffer for the future as well.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering, how often are we supposed to be evaluating this? Is this something that should be done every other year, every 5 years?
I think we're going to probably do it every 5 years. My plan moving forward.
Okay.
I really think that we will. And even if you say, by the way, that we are moving forward, we can't even start this till April 1st. It'll take us 3 months to get all our forms, our iWork system up to where they can actually see these fees. But my talk with afterwards, when I would like to see this done every 5 years. Inflation, new state statutes, anything. I mean, we might have to bring stuff earlier based off of state statutes right away. But I think it's a good process for us to do every 5 years.
How long have the current fees been in place?
2013. That was the last time they changed. No, I don't know what all changed at that time. Some might be for a long time, just to let you know. So
Do you know what? How come it's been so long?
we've
Like
talked about it
over 10
internally.
years.
We just haven't, it was one of the things that's put on the lower totem things that we've been tackling. So now we finally said, you know what, it's time to do it. So.
Well, it seems like we should do this since it's generating revenue, that we should be doing it more diligently.
We agree. We plan on doing it every 5 years. We agree. It just, at the same time too, I think we've been fair to a lot of the residents who've been pulling permits, and they've been, not been charging too much or excess for our permits. So.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
And there's some, for example, we cap, just to let you know too, like siding, re-roofing. We made caps for commercial, like 300, 500 max. Some of those started getting too expensive, we think, because of the fact that just the cost of different siding material. And we feel like this would be like, well, we're charging too much. We found that other communities do a maximum, and we decided to do that as well.
And we kind of evaluated the demand of the inspections too. A re-roof obviously doesn't take as much time as a new house. So we kind of evaluated the cost based on, how many inspections we do and that kind of stuff. Plan reviews, some like even decks, it sounds simple, but they are pretty high maintenance. They changed a lot of the deck rules, and even from the plan review side, I mean, it could take 3, 4, 5 phone calls to contractors to try to get drawings right, and a lot of contact that way, plus the inspections on top of it.
Permits really aren't supposed to be a revenue source so much as just recovering our cost on it. So I would agree with all administrators. It should be looked at more often because our costs go up every year. So it's something that, definitely should be looked at more than every 13 years like it is now. So.
Any other comments that you see or other questions? Anything?
Again, my only concern is that we're covering our costs and that we're competitive with other communities so that we're not pricing ourselves out for new construction and things like that.
Correct. I think we all share that. All right, thanks, Scott. And then also the clerk's office has got an updated list in your packet as well, similar to what Scott had mentioned. I mean, Carrie, you can jump in on this, but it's just a matter of,
It's just a matter of increase because everything has been going up. We did a comparison between New Berlin, Waukesha, and Brookfield. And just with that, it's just time to bring some of these costs up. I don't know the last time that they went up. It's been before I was here, and I started in 2020.
the only one that's notably going down is one of our newer ones is short-term rental. When we had it originally at $500, and we're lowering it to $250 because I can't really justify charging $500 a staff time on that. So. Any other questions on this? So this will come back as a resolution shortly after in the new year. So it'll come back to council. If anything pops up between now and then, or if you see something that you have questions on, feel free to reach out. All right, continuing on. Cost estimate for the demolition of the old police department. Scott. Thank you.
I have mine. Okay.
Okay. Okay. I'd like for me to go through the whole thing, get out our reasoning, baseline thoughts, and then ask as many questions as you can. All right? So what we did here is Ryan from DPW reached out to a bunch of, I'd say he said about 4 or 5 reputable demolition companies, true demolition companies. 2 called back, 2 walked through the entire building with Ryan, went through, took plans, whatever. Of that 2, 1 gave us a price, the other one has ghosted us after several emails. So I think they like the information that they got, but they have not given us a price. So what we need to start off with, if you see the upfront cost, and these are the items that you have done already so that when you publicly bid it, they ask. So the first one is a phase 1. If we do a phase 1 for a cost of, and I got these from a consulting firm, you do a phase 1, they look at the whole site, they see if there's anything hazardous in there. If they kick it up, they have to do a phase 2. If they don't, we only do a phase 1. But also with that phase 1, we're probably going to do a hazardous building material survey. What that is that's your asbestos. When we converted the old city hall, we had to have someone come in and do an asbestos report. They'll also do a study and say, hey, the paint that you used on the cinder block is lead paint. If that ticks off, they do the test. That means that we have to dump it specially. We can't dump it just in maybe the quarry. We have to take it to a landfill and negotiate that price, okay? And then once we have what those documents are, we get to a creation of bid documents, specifications, and publicly bid. That's what we will send out, and we publicly bid from Quest, and that's when we'll get either 0 people publicly bid it, or as many as people want to publicly bid it, okay? So, let's say we did a phase 1, we found nothing outstanding, we didn't have to do a phase 2. We did the hazardous material, we created the bid documents, and then we're ready to bid it out, okay? The one person from the demolition said it'd be $200,000 to demo that building with nothing special. You know, we found nothing crazy, everything is in the specs. They would give us that bid for about $200,000, okay? Then they went to disconnect the utilities, gas, electric, water. That is $15,000 that's on ours. Then what we would do is, once that whole site is gone, because pretty much the parking lot will be destroyed, it's already in bad condition, we replace everything by pulverizing the pavement, shaping and grade, and then turn that whole area into a brand new parking lot, okay? And then you see the cost for the stone base, the asphalt pavement. We wouldn't have to do storm sewer. We just have to slope it to make sure it's properly drained off. And then we would pavement stripe it to make it a parking lot to be either used here, additional parking during City Hall, during elections, or veterans. We have a lot of festivals and stuff. So the idea was to replace that with the parking. And then we have to do a little bit of plumbing work. The old PD is the source for when the vendor set up for Dandelion Days. So we would have to just run another water line because we would remove that water line, and it's about $15,000. Barb has to do about $5,000 in there for IT work. So then we get to a subtotal cost of about, looks right here, about $678,500. And then I threw a 20% contingency. As we create plans, that contingency percent of 20% would probably go down to 5 when we bid this out. So we got a total cost estimate of $814,000 with the fact that, let's say we find nothing like crazy environmental, I got to dump anything special into anything. Okay. Now, a couple things. Though we assume we made the assumption we've taken it all down, and we made the assumption that we're putting up a brand new parking lot. Okay. So I had to give you a baseline of what we did. 2, we still need to provide a hard access point and some hard access around the cell tower. Okay. That cell tower, they sometimes bring a crane in. They brought a crane truck in a couple of years. We have to provide something. So if you wanted to reduce the parking lot, there still has to be a hard access point in at the same spot and some type of square footage for like an asphalt pavement around that so that they could set up a crane and do work. Does that make sense to everyone? And then these costs are for 2025 alone. And usually that goes up based off of inflation for the next couple of years. Okay. Now hit me with your questions.
So if we do a phase 1,
Yep.
at least we've got a point of beginning.
Correct.
And the phase 1, if that's clean, it doesn't trigger a phase 2, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
We probably still do a hazardous because it makes sense. I've been looking at the plans and when it came out, and even the guys who demolition, it's in the 70s when we built that place, lead paint, switched over. It's kind of like an area it would make sense for us to, when they bid it, here's your asbestos report that shows nothing. And know what they're going to do? They're going to get us the best bids possible. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it was built prior to 1978,
It is.
a good chance it's got lead-based paint.
Yep.
Because that was the cutoff.
Yep. You're exactly
And I'd
right.
be-
That's the same what the demolition person would say.
I'd be surprised if there's no asbestos in that building too.
We won't know until we do it.
Yeah.
But, you figure you're probably going to trigger phase. Now, again, phase 2's, I have no idea how they contain their oil over there. I don't know what they did in the parking structures. That triggers anything. But if you look at the first upfront costs, the 3 upfront costs, besides the bid documents, it's not too bad to get that going. And just to let you know, I'm not saying you renovate it, but you're still going to have to do those anyways. If you take it down, if you renovate it, you're going to still need those same documents. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
You still need a phase 1. You still probably will tick off the phase 2, whether or not it'll be there, and you still need a hazardous report. If you renovate it or save anything, they need the reports for any of the contractors to do the work. So.
Scott, this building was remodeled back in 2000. Do we have any documents from that? Because I'm guessing they would have done a phase 1, at least a phase 1
I
back
couldn't
then.
find anything back at that time, so I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't have anything.
I mean, we'd still have to do one, but at least to give us a little bit of an eye opener.
Yeah, but it's relatively cheap cost for the phase 1s and the hazardous. I was happy with. Just let.
Well, if that's a starting point, I'll make a motion that we do a phase 1.
I think you should do the environmental and phase 1, both of them.
Yeah.
But won't the phase 1 trigger the environmental?
No.
They're 2 separate tests.
Yeah,
Oh, they are.
they'll trigger, the phase 1 will trigger the phase 2, but it won't trigger the hazard one. You probably want to do that right away.
Then I'll amend my motion to include both.
Second.
Any other questions?
Can I have one permission thing? If you make it big enough, like if a phase 1 makes me say I have to do a phase 2, that I can do it right away instead of coming back to you? Or no?
No.
Okay,
No.
okay. I'm just trying to save time here so I don't have to.
No, because that's doubling our cost at that
Okay.
point. It's just one meeting later, so
Okay.
it's not a big deal. Yeah, we should be okay on that. Any other questions on that? Alderman Decker?
So with Kevin's motion, we would be doing phase 1 and phase 2?
Phase 1 and hazardous. It's the third one, hazardous building material survey. The third one on the list.
Yeah.
And quite honest, I think the numbers on here are going to be safe, but the hazardous seems a little high.
Yeah.
We'll probably be able to get both of them for 10, but
I can reach out to, there's several people that do this. I just got this quick quote from one company. I can get 2 or 3 bids for this type of work pretty quickly.
And as far as hazardous, you're just talking about asbestos?
asbestos.
Lead.
And lead.
Hazardous, why they call it hazardous, it's the whole like gamut. So it's not just asbestos, it's whatever's in the whole thing.
That's where they go in and they'll cut the little corner of a tile to get a sample of
Yep.
that. And
Yeah,
They'll scrape off the lead
chips.
paint. Yeah.
yeah.
Any idea how long this will, like in January, will you have this?
I was
or-
just going to ask,
depends
what's
on
the
It
timing?
depends on the workload of who you use.
Yeah, I could call 2 or 3 people and some people say, I can start now. Or one will like, can you put me off a little bit? So,
Right.
I have not checked with anyone's schedule, but I don't feel like it's going to be a year out. Does that
No,
make
no,
sense?
it's a matter of, if they got the staffing and the bandwidth, they can get it done before end of January. Otherwise, it might be beginning of March.
Yeah.
It's really not that big of a variance. Yes, Alderman Decker.
So we wouldn't be incurring all the costs for phase 1, phase 2, and hazardous. It'd be 2 of the 3.
2 of the 3. Yeah.
2 of the 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if the phase 1 dictates needing a phase 2, we would bring that back here.
Yeah.
To give you guys a heads up and approval. All right.
Can I ask does it say on here who this bid was from, or this
Yeah, you
quote?
can ask.
I mean,
Who's it from?
I mean, I can tell you a couple. Yeah, the first one's phase 1's a company called Terracon. And then demolition, I believe that was New Berlin Grading. They're the ones that are demoing the Boston store right now in Brookfield. And it's New Berlin Grading's demolition group. This is what they do. This is what they're doing right now. I don't know if you're familiar with the Boston store at Brookfield Square.
yeah.
They're the ones that are on site
It
for that.
was one of my favorite stores, sadly.
It's about halfway done.
Who was the other company that you called that didn't get back to you?
Oh, they came in, they looked at
Oh,
it.
that
but-
they didn't, but they.
Oh,
No,
who-
but ultimately they didn't get
Yeah.
back to you.
Yeah, Rams.
Who was
Rams.
it?
Rams, RAMS. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they're going to publicly bid on this. They just don't want to show their cards.
And you
So,
said,
yeah, just so everyone understands, so once we get this, we're going to create a spec, then we'll put it out, publicly bid it, and whoever they want will come in and produce a bid. So that's one of the reasons why they're probably ghosting, is because if they throw a number out there, everyone else knows, well, I got to at least come in under that. So it's a strategic thing.
Yeah. And these numbers, guys, based off of what we find in the phase 1, they're going to change. They could be that low, or they could be higher based off of just what we find.
why is this bid so much different than that one that you had from that grading?
Because that guy was just more of like, give me a quick number, so I didn't do it. I didn't even have phase 1s, phase 2s, phase 3s.
He's assuming worst, and
Yeah.
Did you reach out to them?
These guys who we reached out, I think you're going to see the ones that are publicly going to bid it on more.
Oh,
So we
okay.
reached out to more professionals until someone that's just like, give me a quick cost. We reach out to companies that do this work. Does that make sense?
Yep.
any other questions? Alderman Decker.
This is complete demolition. This is not
There's nothing
reserving a
standing.
portion for cold storage.
There's no cold storage, nothing. I'm taking this whole thing down. That's what I started with. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah. Parking lot.
Change the.
Did anyone happen to say that if there was if the garage was set aside for cold storage, how that would affect the cost? Anybody comment about that?
No,
Okay.
no, I didn't kind of lead down that path or anything. It was more like, take it down. So, everything.
So taking it down would be taking it down would be cheaper than preserving a portion for cold storage, right? Do you have that sense?
We don't know that.
I
I'm not
don't wanna make
advocating
that-
either way. I'm just saying, we don't know that.
Okay.
We don't even
Yeah.
know the full cost of just taking it down at this point.
Okay.
And
These are
I-
estimates. This is still a cost. I
Right.
want to stress this.
Yeah.
This is still a cost estimate with a 20% contingency, okay? I want to make sure that you know, and this could go up depending on what we find there.
Could go down too.
And it could go down.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
It could go either way. Now, I'm just doing this for process so everyone can understand. I'm not advocating either way. We're going to get the phase 1, phase 2 costs. We're going to create a bid spec. If any of you have a notion or whatever, it's not done until we make the final motion to approve the bid spec going forward. So you want to get a thing for a face and you have a majority of your council members, and I'm not advocating this, I'm just saying what the process is. You can do that at that point. Until we accept a bid for the demolition, anything can happen. So I'm not advocating, I'm just explaining the process.
Any other questions?
Okay. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. We'll get Scott working on that. Thank you. Communications miscellaneous business. Motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 6:02.